Welcome to Manufacturing Matters, the podcast where we shine a spotlight on Alaska's makers, doers, and innovators. I'm Sami Jo.
And I'm Megan. We're here to share the incredible stories of Alaska's manufacturers and the industry experts helping them thrive.
This show is brought to you by the Alaska MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, helping manufacturers across the state to innovate, grow, and stay competitive.
So each episode, we will bring you conversations with the people behind the Alaskan-made products, the challenges that they face, and the solutions that keep moving them forward. We'll also chat with the industry experts who provide insights, tools, and strategies to help those manufacturers succeed.
So whether you're a maker yourself, a supporter of the local industry, or just curious about what goes on behind the scenes, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. All right. Hello, Chris. Happy day. Thanks for joining us. We're super excited to have you here and talk about all things HR and just different tips and tricks that that can resonate with our manufacturers. So thank you for being here.
Yes. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Well, we'll dive in with the first questions for people that don't know you or your role. Can you tell us a little bit about your role, your background, and how your role helps support Alaska's workforce through UAA and your HR expertise?
Certainly. So I am a business professor at the University of Alaska at Anchorage. And so I teach courses here on everything from leadership, human resources, and organizational behavior, people working in teams, basically anything having to do with the people side of running a business. And there's a lot there.
Yes.
So I work with a lot of students, as you can imagine, in a business department that go on to start their own businesses. They go on to run businesses, do operations, human resources related things. So I really feel like it's my job to try to give them the knowledge that they need to have a really great company in terms of whatever they're doing with their people and how to think strategically. Ideally, how to really think logically and use some evidence and data in their decision making to make really good decisions about people. I think that's it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that you're helping really mold future business owners and like really them take the next step for their career or whatever they decide to dive into. Can we take it a step back, a bit, and like how did you get into this field? So this professor, like what made you be passionate about HR and wanting to be a professor and teach the kids?
Oh, sure. So my doctorate is in a field called industrial and organizational psychology, which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically it is kind of think of it as like the science behind human resources. And so everything that human resources does ideally is backed up by some sort of evidence. So whether we're doing maybe some sort of testing before we hire people, or we're thinking about how to motivate people the best way, or how to make effective leaders, there's a whole bunch of research that goes into that. And so I help with that research. So I'm an active researcher. And then through my teaching and through opportunities like this, I try to share that knowledge with folks so that I can kind of pass along the knowledge about how to do those things. So yeah, when I first started in my career thinking about psychology, I just kind of knew I wanted to help people. And then eventually I found this really great field that was based on helping people in their work lives, which is so much of people's lives, right? And so I really kind of feel this mission to help businesses create the best environment that they possibly can for their workers.
I love this.
That. Yeah, that's amazing.
I love this. Being a business owner myself, I mean, the people side of that's a whole nother hat. That's a whole nother hat you got to be wearing, managing people, how the best way to get those people to invest into your company and have that drive behind it that you may have. So I think that this is extremely valuable for folks because a lot of people too have a hard time firing themselves from those jobs or wanting to do everything themselves. So I think that bringing the data into it is huge also to make those really informed decisions with your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. So is this something you always knew you wanted to go into? I mean, it sounds like you knew you always wanted to help people, but I feel like there's so many things to study and to get involved in. How did you, is this something you always knew? Or like, how did you stumble across like this field, when you were younger and pursuing, I want to help people, but I'm not really sure how. How did you find this?
Right. So just when I was an undergraduate in college, I took a couple of classes. I sort of found myself gravitating toward management and business classes along with my psychology classes. And so this is just sort of a unique field that I found that sort of unites those two things, just the sort of basic desire to help people, but then also really, in helping people, we can help businesses to grow and help businesses to succeed. And so, I mean, that's a mission that I really like. So when I heard about the field and took a few classes, I just decided this was a great career path. And so I went on to eventually pursue a doctorate in this field, and here I am today.
Cool.
Amazing. Yeah, it's just such an interesting, unique field. So I'm just like, man, how did you find that? That's really cool. So thanks for sharing it. And I love that mission and wanting to help people. And now you can kind of fill that mission into helping businesses as well. So that's awesome. So speaking of helping businesses, what are some common HR challenges that you currently see in manufacturing businesses in Alaska?
Yeah, I'll say the one that I hear over and over. I've been in Alaska about 5 years, and the one I've heard all throughout that 5 years, up to and including today, is I just can't find people. I have these jobs that are unfilled. What do? I can't find people, or the people are leaving, or the people are moving to other jobs. I'm stuck as a manufacturer, right? Which is not a good place to be. That's definitely the issue that I hear highlighted over and over from manufacturers.
Yeah, I feel like we've heard that, and I feel like a lot of times, like with the manufacturing, depending on what business they're doing, it's really like a specific set of skills that they're looking for, like really specialized,
high skilled.
Yeah, that they're looking to fill that, and it is very hard to be able to find that specific person to fill that and do a good job that's going to represent their brand, their business in the correct capacity.
Yeah. Well, something I think that's interesting about this too is that you said it's been for the past 5 years since you've been here. So is this this was a before COVID problem as well?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, yeah, because I came to Alaska right during COVID, and my initial instinct was, oh, maybe this is just COVID, because things were a little crazy then, right? But it certainly persisted beyond that. So I suspect this is probably a unique Alaska thing, right? There's only so many people that live in this state, right? So there's that issue. I think the other issue that manufacturers often run into is just pretty fierce competition for workers. I've definitely heard from a lot of business owners that they feel like their employees at any time could just decide to go work for a mine or decide to work on the North Slope and earn massive amounts of money with not a lot of educational background. It feels like those jobs are always out there, and because they pay so well, I think a lot of times workers may be saying to themselves, well, why would I be a forklift driver here in town and earn X amount of dollars when I might be able to go earn twice as much someplace else here in the state? So I mean, it creates a real issue for Alaska businesses.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen it. And I know that after COVID, COVID is just one thing, right? But I feel like now as humans, we just have so much more opportunities. We can go be an Uber driver, go DoorDash, right? There's all of these different ways that we can work for ourselves that
side hustles,
a lot of people, I think, are not going and working for other people too. And I think that that's attributing to this issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as we go along here, we might talk a little bit more about that too, because one of the things I'm going to stress as we go along here is really the value of companies helping employees to feel bought in and connected to the organization and feel like they're part of a team and part of a family, so that maybe some of those other things are not quite so appealing and we can keep the good people that we have.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And that's super important to make really your team members feel valued so they want to stay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the choice nowadays. We don't need to stay somewhere where we don't feel valued, right? Yeah. And that's right. That's part of what is going to create the best situation for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So seeing as that's a reoccurring challenge that you hear all the time over the last 5 years, what are some different tips or strategies? What do you tell these people that come to you being like, cannot fill this position. I don't know where to turn. What are different tips or advice you give those people?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole host of tools. I think usually I'm very interested to hear what they're doing currently. I think sometimes it's sort of what we think of as the traditional stuff, which is posting ads somewhere and then waiting for the applicants to come find us.
Okay. Yep.
And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I would describe that approach as being a little more passive. And I think in a market like Alaska, you probably need to be a little more proactive and kind of have some more enthusiasm to try to reach out where employees are. And where are employees? Well, you might have to be a little bit creative there. I mean, there's some online tools that certainly employers can use. Tools like Indeed or places like that where people post their resumes online can be a good source because in sites like that, the employee doesn't have to actually apply for the job. You as the employer can look for skills or keywords or something like that in people's work history. And then you can sort of proactively reach out to them. And even if they're employed somewhere right now, they may certainly be willing to sit down and talk with you if there's a better job out there.
I didn't even think of I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of just having a resume on Indeed and letting people come to me, basically, right? I only thought of Indeed as the other way. Like the job is posted, you apply.
Look at it,
yeah. So wow, that really puts that really gives the power to the employees in finding what they value the most, right? Yeah, what's going to be the most important for what you want happening in your life every day, and what kind of job is going to connect with that.
Yeah, and there's I think another thing too that can be really helpful is I mean, we hear so much about social networking these days, and social networks is something that can help with this problem too. I mean, there's the sort of in-person social networks that people have, which you as an employer, as a manufacturer, you could leverage that. Some companies do things like referral programs. And so if you have a current employee, maybe you give them a small bonus if they help you recruit someone who stays with the company for X number of months or years or something like that to kind of give some incentive, right? But our employees know people.
Right.
Is another good way.
Yeah, that's very smart. I like creative, outside of the box, a little more proactive, not as passive.
Yeah.
I'll say too, something that I've seen these last several years in Alaska is recruiting. I mean, people are definitely taking on the role in these bigger organizations to go and find those employees, because I don't think that passive is working as well.
Right.
And then you get to find them. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, they can be using Indeed too, where those people are at, but I've definitely seen that in-person recruiting in Alaska happening a lot.
I've seen a lot more like bonuses or different things. It feels like so many people have been like hurting. It's like you're talking about passive hasn't been working. So now they're actively like, hey, we're going to do a 5K sign-on bonus, or just like different things like that to really entice workers to apply. I've been seeing that. Seems huge the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, one of the things to think about with some of these programs too is sort of the effects of those. I mean, because sometimes I feel like being understaffed can make companies feel desperate. And then when you're desperate, gosh, just anyone coming through the door feels like the right person, right?
Right.
Even though in the long term, they might not be the right fit for the company, or, you know, for many various reasons, or they may not have the skills that you're looking for as an employer. So I really stress too, it's not just about finding humans, but it's about finding the right people that we need. And that's much more efficient than just sort of hiring people.
Yes. Yeah. And this is a life lesson for anything, everybody.
Right.
This is a life. Don't be desperate and just take what comes, right? Yeah.
Right.
We need to vet and get what's going to be best for everybody in the whole situation.
No, and I think there's so many times where, you are like desperate and you're short staffed and you want that person. But at the end of the day, you're like, why am I having so much turnover? Well, if you want to build your brand and build it to the way your values are represented in your business, like you want to build your family, as you were talking about. And so if you're just going to hire whoever, that's not really going to mesh well with everyone. That's probably going to lead to turnover and more stress and just different things on your plate without finding the right person. So that's a really good point. So taking it to learning about why it's important to hire the right person and that sort of thing. Why is it important for manufacturers, small business owners, especially ones that are growing or trying to grow their operation, to invest in HR?
Yeah, great question. So I think when manufacturing businesses are quite small, I mean, 2 or 3 people or something like that, I mean, you're not going to have a devoted human resources person or staff, right? I mean,
Right.
and so I think it's just about kind of having some awareness of the sorts of tools that are available to help with some of these human things that we encounter at work. So things like hiring people, recruiting people, attracting people, motivating people, helping people to be good leaders, setting up teams to work effectively. I mean, so many of these things, just by a business owner or operations manager or someone like that having these skills can be really, really helpful too. I mean, certainly it might be ideal for a company to have someone working in human resources who's devoted to these things, but definitely that's not in the cards for many small businesses, right? So just kind of having some awareness of these issues, I think, can be really, really helpful and help the company to just be more efficient and achieve those manufacturing goals more smoothly.
Yeah.
When is a good point for a business to be looking at dedicating a role to HR?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure in terms of a specific number of employees. I mean, I think at some point a business will start to feel some pain from not having someone in that role, right? But I think a lot of times new positions are created when something that was assigned to someone else just becomes a little overwhelming, right? Like now we need too many people, or we have to do too many performance reviews, or there's just too much. And so then all of a sudden we start thinking about, okay, we need to sit down and have a specific person dedicated to this role in our business.
Yeah.
No, I like that. So what are some different tips or advice you could give to businesses that may be feeling that pain, or they're like, we know we need some HR related help? What are different, maybe cost effective things that they can start right away? Because we know a lot of our manufacturers, small business owners, they're smaller. They don't have a lot of money to pursue on this, but they know that this is important for business growth. So what are some different tips or tools or resources that they maybe could dive into as like first steps?
Yeah. So, I mean, there are a number of different things you could do. I mean, as a nerdy college professor, one of the things I sometimes recommend is, well, maybe you could find a textbook on management or leadership or human resources or something like that, and use that as just a bit of a manual, or give it a skim through, just so you kind of know what's out there. I think can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be some talks through Alaska MEP that I believe are free of charge. Those would be a great resource.
Yes.
Shamelessly self-promoting, but it's true. These are a good resource. I think sometimes, too, there can be really supportive communities around small businesses. And so talking with peer organizations in the area, friends, colleagues that don't necessarily work for your organization, but might have their own small business, and just getting some feedback from them too about what they're doing and what their issues are, I think can be a really useful way to sort of benchmark how your company is doing. Because if that company is doing great at finding employees and has no trouble keeping people, that might kind of cue you into, okay, there's something going on with my company that I need to investigate a little more.
Right.
Yeah. Just getting some different insight. And you had mentioned like performance evaluations. Personally, I know that from the military, but like if you were to go and just into a small business, how many people are aware of the power of a performance eval for your employees, right? And then are actually sticking to that.
Right.
Because sometimes as small business owners, we get so caught up in the mix of being in our business that you're not thinking about that growth of all of your employees, which is huge for getting up to that next level.
Right. To me, performance evaluations are huge. I think, at least in the couple of jobs I've had, I'm not a business owner, but like I appreciate performance evaluations. Like I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to get better if my leader isn't going to sit down and tell me what my strengths were over the year and what I need to focus on or work on for next year to reach different goals. It also is just like a great touch point to feel appreciated, connected to your leadership, to your boss. And when I've worked for different companies that maybe didn't offer that, it made you feel a little bit more questionable, maybe a little bit more scared to approach your leadership because you don't have that dedicated time that's dedicated just for you and your boss to sit down and chat about your work performance.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think what's your opinion on employee evaluations?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think especially as small businesses, this can be something we just sort of forget, frankly. Also, it can be a little daunting for business owners to sit down and have this intimidating sort of conversation with someone and give them some honest feedback. I mean, I would say, though, it is really important because of some of the reasons you just mentioned. Yeah, it really helps people feel like they know where they are and they feel connected and they feel like someone cares about their performance. I think it can be also used as a really important strategic tool to help keep people connected to the organization, because I think it's a great time to think about things like skill building and training and helping our employees to see a career with the organization rather than just a job, right? It's like what can we do as a company to help you kind of get more skills to be where you want to be? Those should be two-way conversations, right?
Right. No, I 100% agree. I just remember working for one company and it was like, we don't do evaluations, but my door is always open. And to me, I just took that as like, as an employee, at least, my door is always open. So if you want to come back, come in and talk to me about your work performance or a raise or growth or whatever, my door is always open. I'm intimidated. Like, you're not taking the time, like, specifically to talk to me. I feel nervous. Sure, your door might be always open to go and really start that conversation. But then work for a company where it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this yearly. I know that there's going to be a dedicated time, and this is when I'm going to have my questions ready. This is where I'm going to feel heard, more seen, rather than the intimidating, hey, they say the door is open, but like, is it? Is now a good time?
Yeah.
It just puts so much pressure almost on your employees. So I appreciate it. And then kind of going back to like once a year, how often do you think is appropriate for small businesses to hold employee evaluations? Do you think twice a year, once a year? How often should business owners kind of be looking into holding those?
Yeah, I think probably once a year is the standard for most companies, small businesses or big businesses. I think the thing to keep in mind there, though, is that once a year is not enough to give good feedback to people, right? And that's, it's great that once a year can be a time where we sit down and talk about these issues, but that should not be the only time this is happening, right? I think sometimes business owners or leaders feel like, well, I'm not going to address something right now because I'll address it at their performance review 6 months from now. But that doesn't help the person in the moment, right? Like you still need that quick and immediate feedback. And anytime there's a moment where you can help employees, you got to do that too. So it's an ongoing process. And so those little things should always be happening. And then I would say probably once a year for the more formal part of the process.
I love that. I think that's good advice. And that's something that really, I think, makes employees feel more seen, takes pressure off. And that's something that small businesses, manufacturers could start implementing right away to focus on those growth and seeing the employees as part of their family and their business and keeping them connected. I think it's really important.
And being able to promote within, right? Investing into your people, giving them the skills. Like, maybe I need this role filled and you haven't been able to find anybody. Well, who do I have on my team that this could be a good fit for?
Right. That maybe could start taking this on and then growth from within. It's a good point.
Yeah. Do you see a lot of business owners in Alaska? Like, is that a tactic to kind of overcome not being able to find a workforce, is developing within?
Yeah, I think it is. I've definitely seen more of that here, and sort of a willingness of companies to sort of take on training and developing someone for roles, even if they maybe don't walk through the door with sort of everything you might traditionally need for that role. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that's precisely because it can be really hard to find skilled people here. And so being aware of that, if you have sort of a funnel of people in your organization that you can use and build with you, I think it's a great strategy, and one that helps people to feel connected and like they have important careers, and helps businesses to keep their valuable people.
Question, totally random, not on the list. We have worked with the College of Engineering to match them up with some different manufacturers to bring in like capstone projects. We also had a manufacturer that we talked to that works with the robotics team, that they're actually able to get some of people on the robotics team to like join their team because of what they're doing. Do you guys do any collaborations or partnerships with businesses to where you can be like this little HR resource, maybe like a fractional HR or something where you guys are working together?
Linking your students maybe to some businesses?
Well, I would say we do have a few strategies. I mean, like me personally, I tend to use a lot of guest speakers in my class and sort of build student social networks that way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, which seems to work well. I'm also part of a group that does mentoring called the Tom Case Leadership Fellows Group. And so it's a group of folks who are interested in going on to leadership-related fields. And so we pair them with community leaders for mentoring over the course of a year. And then so often as a result of that, we do see some of those connections happening, and people will go on to work for those organizations.
Nice. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. And other than that, I mean, I think through venues like this, I like to just sort of make the community aware that these resources are out there, and people are always willing, or always should feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'm happy to chime in and point them in the right direction for any HR related questions or concerns they might have.
Nice.
Wonderful. And I feel like that leads us perfect into the next thing I really want to cover. We're so excited to be collaborating with you to bring 5 HR classes to our manufacturers, to our small business owners for free. So we're super excited to be kicking off this mini series. It'll be started the beginning of May. It'll run through about mid-June. Can you share a little bit about these classes, what different topics you're going to be talking about, who should attend, and why it should be important to attend?
Yeah, what am I going to take away?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a variety of topics. I would say all of them are kind of centered around the themes that I've mentioned before, which is finding things that work. And so like, what does evidence show works in human resources as far as motivating people, finding people, keeping people, all those things that we want to do. So who should attend? I would say it could be a variety of people. I mentioned before, smaller businesses, if you don't have a human resources person, you could informally be that person at your organization by just picking up a few of these skills, right? Kind of having the know-how. You could be the person to help your organization to be more efficient. And so, business owners or people who do operations, or there's so many people for whom this would be useful.
Right.
Certainly, if you are a human resources person, I think it would be valuable for you as well. I think sometimes in human resources, there's a tendency to become an expert in things like payroll or compensation, or being familiar with all the various labor laws, and all that stuff is great, but those are not necessarily the sorts of things that help manufacturers kind of take it to the next level and really strategically use the people that are in their organization. So hopefully it would be applicable, and everyone would learn something sort of regardless of how much knowledge you may or may not have in human resources. So I can give you kind of a quick run through of some of the topics if you like.
I would love that, because that was going to be my question. Each week is a different topic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm referring to my list here. So we have one that is on talent, finding talent, which is about some of the issues we've already touched on here today. Finding people. Where do you find people? How do you find people? What are some of the resources employers could use, or what are some of the strategies? And we know so many employers are struggling with this, so that should be a good one. And then also a part of that is keeping those people once you have them. So it's the attracting people and retaining them both. There's another one on building a skilled workforce, which is about the role of training and development. So sort of like we were talking about before, helping employees to kind of develop the skills that your company needs and helping employees to grow. So we'll talk about those sorts of issues. Next one is about some of the downtime that sometimes small manufacturers face when they're working with a limited number of employees. So like, let's say someone calls in sick for the day. What happens to your operation? I mean, it might be shut down or operating at half speed, or like things go crazy, right? If you're a small business.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some strategies for how to overcome that. So things like job rotation or using teams or cross-training, or lots of different strategies you could use so that that doesn't happen. So you can still run things when some of those key folks are missing for various reasons. And I think that's a really important sort of knowledge base to have as a smaller employer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's one about leadership and developing leaders. So some of those leadership skills and what can you do to help the leaders you may already have do things like lead teams effectively or give effective performance feedback to people, things like that. And then the very last one is creating a culture of safety. As I mentioned, my background is in psychology, and so much of safety is really that psychological piece and getting people to just kind of connect to the idea and feel invested in safety, right? Like you can provide all the safety equipment you want, but unless people are kind of invested in it mentally, it's not going to work. So it's really kind of helping people to buy into safety and help keep manufacturers safe, accident-free.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I love it. Perfect. Well, I am so excited to be collaborating with you on this. So you guys heard it here first. We're going to be rolling out this HR series. We have a total of 5 classes, trainings available. It'll be virtual. So wherever you're located in the state of Alaska, you'll be able to hop on, chat with Chris, ask any questions as he's covering this array of topics on retaining talent, safety, leadership, growth, and how to really bring it into your business. This will be kicking off May 13th, Tuesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. So just an hour of your time in the morning, spanning for 5 weeks with one break the first week of June. So we're super excited to roll it out.
Question.
Yes.
Do I have to go to all the classes? I mean,
No.
It's free, but
it is free. Okay. So if you want to, you should join all of these. You're going to learn so much from them. However, you do not need to go to all of them. Really choose which ones resonates to you.
I have another question.
Yes.
Is it recorded?
Ooh,
will it be
great.
recorded, and will I be able to see it online if I can't make it on a Tuesday at 9 a.m.?
Yes, that's a fabulous question. Great. It will be recorded, and we will house it on our website and also YouTube.
Love that. Thank you. That was all my questions. I think that's extremely valuable. Each of the topics, I'm like, ooh, that would be interesting. Oh, that's really nice.
Right.
And these are things that are very valuable. Like, not everyone is taught these things. And I think that that's something that I realized through the military. Like, we were taught a lot of these things in the military. You have to, once you're an NCO, you have to give monthly counseling statements to every soldier. I mean, that's monthly. You're telling them about their performance. And then if you're up another level, then it's annual, right? But man, even how you give that performance evaluation, if someone doesn't know how to communicate well, that could come off really bad.
Right.
Exactly. Poorly to someone if you're like, hey, you need to do these things or do this, or I want you to do it this way. There's an approach to all of this. So
a magic to it.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing this knowledge, because I think that a lot of people can learn from this, and this is how we make our businesses better, right?
Yes.
This is how we create sustainability and longevity, is that we can create that core team, have good values, have good systems that are in place, and take care of our people.
Take care of the people. So if this is resonating to you, we're super excited to launch this. The only investment is going to be your time, 1 hour on Tuesdays. And as Megan pointed out, it'll be recorded, but if you're catching it live, it'll be great, because then you actually get to ask your questions in real time with Chris, who will be there. So it's really just a great time to really invest in your business and learn. If you're really like stuck on, where do I look for different employers, or how do I keep people to stay? How do I build my value and my mission and keep this family hosted and take care of your employees. So we're super excited. It's rolling out so soon. So we hope you guys can join. You guys can get registered on our website.
Everything will be below.
Yes. And then Chris, I really just want to talk to you about really 2 more questions. I don't really want to give too much away because I want you guys to join our HR sessions. But what is one piece of advice that you would give out to manufacturers, small businesses in the HR field? Like, what's your favorite piece of advice to give people?
Well, I think to follow up to what we've been talking about in terms of the difficulty of finding people and retaining people, which seems to be such an issue here, I would say that we really have to be strategic in how we do that. And, you know, the best companies that do this have a well thought out plan as to what the company offers that is unique and special and makes people want to work there and continue to work there. And they create basically a marketing plan, sort of like, what is spectacular about my company that's going to draw people in and make them want to continue to work for me. And they use that to attract people. That's in their advertising for jobs. They talk about it during interviews. And they use it during times, during the performance evaluations, and they're kind of just always kind of honing that and crafting that message about what it is that makes us unique and special. So my piece of advice is to really think about what that strategy is for your company. And it's kind of funny. I feel like sometimes small business owners might not know, but you might have had someone working for you for 5 years and you're not sure why.
Right.
So I always say, go talk to your people, right? And figure out what it is that it is unique about you, and maybe you can even build some unique things into your business too. Maybe it's a little bit of flexibility with the schedule, or I don't know, bringing in a catered barbecue every couple of weeks, or I mean, little things like that can really help people to connect with their company and feel like a lot of buy-in and really feel embedded in the company, which is where you want people to be. And that's how you find good people and keep good people.
Oh, I love that. So things I'm really taking from it is be strategic, be creative. I feel like what you were really talking about really resonated with me of like, you're a business owner or manufacturer, find your why, remember your why. There is a reason that you are doing this and that you started this business, and make sure you are promoting it effectively, because if you're passionate about your why and you're solving a challenge for people, there's going to be other people. You can't be the only one that are going to be passionate about your why. So just make sure that you are pushing out your why and out there.
Great TED Talk by Simon Sinek on how to develop leaders is all about that. So I think that we really need to continue growing where we can our workforce here in Alaska, like trying to get people to stay in Alaska. It's a very interesting place that we're in with all the challenges that we face.
But it's a beautiful place and magical place to live.
And sometimes we just need some strategies and ideas on how to make it better.
Well, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this HR series. So I hope everyone stay tuned for more information about that rolling out soon. It's kicking off in May. And my last question to you, Chris, that we like to end all of our episodes with is, why does manufacturing matter to you?
Yeah, I think, manufacturing in Alaska is kind of unique and important for a couple of reasons. I think one, like big picture economy for the state, it's great to have a diversity of stuff going on here, right? I think Alaska has this outsider's perspective of, we're just a petroleum state, right? We kind of have this one commodity that we do, and that's everything, right? Which is obviously not true. So it's great to have support for manufacturing in the state. I think too, there's kind of maybe a bit of a stigma of doing this kind of thing in Alaska, as though it's too hard. Or, like you're going to try to build something here in the state and export it to other places when Alaska is so isolated. And that's a big challenge. But it is a big challenge, of course. But, it's very possible. And, lots of manufacturers here, of course, do it very well. I think for me personally, one of the cool things about manufacturing in the state is being able to sort of share with other parts of the country and world some of the culture of Alaska. I'm thinking about like when the holidays roll around and I'm looking for gifts for loved ones. And it's, I'm always looking for that locally produced thing, whether it's, a cosmetic or something like that with a locally grown ingredient. Local chocolates, things like that are always a big hit with the family. Or another example that I was thinking of is like I'm big into mountain biking. And so over the winter, I've been doing a lot of fat biking. And so I was so happy to learn that we have some manufacturers of mountain bikes and mountain bike related things right here in Alaska that make things like the bags that go on fat bikes. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And it's so fun to see those sorts of things in other parts of the world because, that's something that kind of celebrates the unique culture of Alaska. And so I think it's so fun when those sorts of ideas and elements that come from the state can be shared with others outside.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Also, something that me and Sami talk about all the time is just Alaska is its own brand.
It's a brand itself.
It's a brand itself.
People are excited.
Yeah. We're a tight-knit community state. Being able to share those things, like you're saying, it's like all over the nation. It's like, yeah, go Alaska.
Right.
Yeah. We're in this together.
It might be hard. It might be challenging, but people are doing it.
It's doable.
And honestly, Alaska sells because Alaska is such a unique state in itself. And people are excited in the lower 48 to see, Alaska, this is Alaska. So I just think it's so important. And there's so many different things being made out there. We're not just, like you were saying, one thing. There's, fat tire, like you were talking about, like your different hobbies for that. There's food, there's breweries, there's clothing. There's so much things being manufactured right here. It might be challenging, but it's totally possible.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris. Super excited to have you on. Super excited for you to give little teasers about the HR series that is coming soon. We'll put all the links for registration here. And if you have any questions, we would be happy to connect you with Chris.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris, for being on with us. And then everybody else, we will
see you next time.
All right.
That's a wrap on another episode of Manufacturing Matters. A huge thank you to our guests for sharing their journey with us.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a fellow maker.
And want to take your manufacturing business to the next level? Visit alaska-mep.com and schedule a free consultation with our business team.
Until next time, keep building, keep creating, and keep proving that manufacturing matters.
Crushed it.